Most of us slide behind the steering wheel, assuming the vehicle is designed to protect us. But for over a decade, 1 in 4 cars on American roads harbored a hidden, lethal threat right inside the steering column. A modern airbag is an incredible feat of engineering. In a fraction of a second, a controlled chemical reaction rapidly inflates a cushion to safely absorb the kinetic energy of a crash. For decades, the Tokyo-based Takata Corporation was a dominant force in automotive safety. They were an 80-year-old company that supplied roughly 1 out of every 5 airbags sold worldwide. Yet, in pursuit of higher profit margins, this manufacturer made a calculated decision to alter their chemistry. To save just a few pennies per car, they turned the ultimate safety device into a literal fragmentation grenade. In the late 1990s, major automakers began heavily squeezing suppliers for cheaper parts. Takata had been using a highly stable, non-toxic propellant called tetrazole, but it was expensive and difficult to source in large volumes. To bypass this bottleneck, Takata executives pivoted to ammonium nitrate. It cost about 1/10 the price of tetrazole, but it is a volatile compound, one most famous as the primary explosive used in commercial mining and the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. The decision faced immediate internal resistance. During a 1998 design review, Takata's own lead propellant engineer, Mark Lillie, explicitly warned executives that other manufacturers had abandoned the chemical because it was too unstable. He told his superiors that if they moved forward with ammonium nitrate, somebody would be killed. His warnings were ignored. Driven by a mandate to maximize profits and win contracts, Takata effectively overrode fundamental chemical safety. They quietly installed millions of unstable explosive devices into some of the most popular vehicles on the market. The core engineering flaw of these airbags comes down to the physical chemistry of solid ammonium nitrate. The compound is subject to polymorphism, meaning it physically expands and contracts as it cycles through different crystalline phases. When a car sits in the hot sun and then cools overnight, the propellant tablets constantly swell and shrink, eventually forming mechanical microfractures. This structural decay is accelerated by the chemical's extreme hygroscopicity. When ambient humidity penetrates the inflator canister, the newly formed cracks absorb that moisture. Over time, the solid tablets dissolve and break down into a fine, highly porous powder. This degradation changes the chemical's burn rate. When an airbag with powdered propellant is triggered during a collision, it ignites across a massively increased surface area. Instead of a controlled burn, it creates a runaway pressure spike that the system cannot vent fast enough. The compact steel canister housing the propellant is incapable of withstanding that instantaneous overpressurization. The intense internal force causes the metal housing to violently shatter. Instead of safely inflating a protective fabric cushion, the module acts essentially as a pipe bomb, detonating directly toward the passenger cabin. On American roadways, this thermodynamic breakdown yielded horrific results. Low-speed fender benders that should have been entirely survivable were suddenly transforming into fatal events. Victims were struck by jagged pieces of the fractured steel canister traveling at ballistic speeds. The hot metal shards caused severed carotid arteries, deep facial lacerations, and ruptured globes resulting in permanent blindness. These deep, penetrating shrapnel wounds baffled emergency personnel. The localized damage closely resembled high-velocity combat trauma, which is completely alien to the blunt force injuries typically seen in motor vehicle accidents. The trauma was so extreme that police and paramedics arriving at crash scenes repeatedly assumed they were walking into a violent crime scene. In several instances, investigators initially believed the drivers had been shot or stabbed in the face. Takata executives were aware of these fatal ruptures as early as 2004. After an incident in Alabama, the company orchestrated secret off-hours testing using inflators retrieved from scrapyards. When those prototype canisters exploded on the testing bench, executives ordered the technicians to delete all the data from their hard drives and physically destroy the parts. This cover-up evolved into a systematic, decade-long practice known internally as Xing the data. Engineers and executives routinely altered or removed failing ballistic test results and pressure anomalies before submitting validation reports to their clients. The brazenness of the fraud is documented in internal engineering emails. Executives wrote to their teams that they had no choice but to doctor the data to meet customer specifications. One engineer even sent an email discussing how to dress up unfavorable graphics, using the subject line, "happy manipulating." This fabricated data provided a false sense of security that allowed Takata to secure massive billion-dollar supply contracts with the world's largest automakers, including Honda and Ford. Through a pervasive culture of deception in the boardroom, Takata managed to hide a known lethal chemical defect for over 15 years, allowing a localized engineering failure to scale into a global catastrophe. The truth eventually surfaced, leading to a massive legal reckoning. In early 2017, the Department of Justice unsealed criminal indictments against 3 top Takata executives, charging them with wire fraud and conspiracy for their deliberate roles in falsifying safety data. This chart breaks down the $1 billion criminal penalty imposed on the Takata Corporation. To resolve the federal investigation, they were ordered to pay a $25 million criminal fine, establish a $125 million restitution fund for the victims, and pay $850 million to compensate the defrauded automakers. The logistical scale of the fallout is staggering. It triggered the recall of roughly 67 million airbag inflators in the United States alone, making it the largest and most complex automotive recall in history. Facing this massive federal penalty, alongside mounting global class action lawsuits and astronomical recall production costs, the 80-year-old Takata empire completely collapsed, filing for bankruptcy protection in 2017. But the obliteration of a corporation cannot undo the damage. No federal fine can replace the dozens of lives lost, or heal the hundreds of people permanently mutilated by a device that was supposed to save them. The Takata airbag crisis was a calculated gamble with human life, executed solely to protect profit margins. It exposed the fragility of the modern automotive supply chain, where automakers rely heavily on consolidated, single-source component suppliers. It leaves us with a chilling reality. A single lie, told in a corporate boardroom half a world away, has the power to turn your own steering wheel into a deadly weapon. Did you or your family have to deal with the Takata recall? Sound off in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives into the hidden histories behind the world's biggest industries, make sure to subscribe to Archive World.